Why no king? Yeah.
Ah, ah, ah. Yeah! Konniya! Hi, everyone! It is once again me, Niya, Kisa Niya. Um, Kisa Niya, the catgirl of all time. Wait, no. A catgirl of all trades. I'm a
But
mess
also the
today.
cat girl of all time.
Oh, if you say so.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Hi, Bunny. Hi, Rex. It's nice to see you again. Hi, Irving. Thank you for coming again. An early congrats on surviving 2023. We made it. It was not an easy year. I'm sure
No.
for you as well as us. But yeah, we're here. We're queer. We're kicking. And we're going to see some murder.
Oh shit. We sure are.
And then, yeah, so since it is like very, very late, it's like 8 p.m. here. So people are already starting to fire off the fireworks as is custom. So if you hear some fireworks, no, you didn't.
Just pretend that they're not there.
A bunny's gonna fall asleep to this stream.
Oh, funny.
That's sweet, but also there's gonna be some shit happening.
Yeah.
I had
Falling asleep
some
is.
I had some minor mic trouble, so please do let me know if my volume is good or bad. Yeah, I'm still balancing it out, but yeah. Anyway, Uminekos, let's go. King Kong Kang Kong.
Oh.
And so it starts again. The
I'm getting back
bullshit.
into it.
Oh shit, here we go again. Okay.
Back on our bullshit.
Alright. It doesn't seem like we have any lag. Knock on wood. So Aaron is feeling a bit under the weather, but still kindly decided to join the stream today. So I'm going to be reading more today, but let's say I'll be reading, and then as always you can just tell me if you want to start reading for a bit. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. I'm back on my bullshit. Bold of you to assume I was ever off it. Real. This is Beatrice.
So true. So true. Oh my god, girl boss. I can't wait till she gets here.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, I'm like strangely nervous today. I mean, it's probably
Oh
because of the new
no.
year, but it's like my body doesn't know the difference between like anxiety and like excitement before New Year and before stream, so it kind of like translates all together.
Oh no.
But yeah, I'm just really excited. Okay. The strange letter that the witch had entrusted Maria with had wiped all of memories of dinner from our minds. Maybe.
Mm.
I think that worked.
Yeah, I think it did. It looks like it's back.
Okay. Hi, Slimmer Badge. Welcome to the stream. Sorry about a little hiccup. It happens. Okay. But yeah, to do a little recap, last stream we were watching the family of the Ushiromiya at a fancy dinner, a fancy family dinner, and then suddenly Maria, the youngest of the cousins, once the dinner was ready, she took out a letter with a wax seal of the, what's it called? The family, what's the chief of the family? head of the family was the word I was looking for. Yeah, so she took a letter. Leave me alone.
No, you're right. I mean, you're right.
Anyway, she took out a letter with a fancy wax seal of head of the family, and everyone freaked the hell out because, well, obviously nobody knew where she got the letter, how she got the letter, who wrote the letter, but it seemed to be genuine. And this is Maria we're talking about, the little girlie who like barely speaks in full sentences, completely changing her demeanor while reading the letter, taking on the role of the witch who is writing the letter and telling... What did the letter say? Do you remember?
Yeah, so basically the letter said that that letter introduced the letter writer introduced themselves as Beatrice, the Ushiromiya family alchemist, and said that they were going to be taking back the gold that they had lent to Kinzo unless the family members could solve the riddle of the epitaph. But if they could not, then Beatrice would be taking back the gold that she had lent. So they have a limited amount of time to do this. But now nobody believes it. Everybody, all the adults are convinced it has to be some sort of prank. Because nobody really believed. Yeah, nobody really believed that Kinzo actually got gold from a witch. But now this letter has shown up and everybody's freaking out.
Oh yeah, and then before that, Maria was trying to find the rose in the garden, the very sickly, withering rose, and she couldn't find it. So she was left alone in the garden for an hour or two, and like in the pouring rain. And while alone, someone lended her an umbrella. But when her mother started to like asking around about who gave her the umbrella, nobody would come up and admit it. And then it turned, not really turns out, Maria has been telling the whole time that the witch, Beatrice, gave her the umbrella, but nobody believed her. So, yeah. Beatrice, real? Yeah, the gold was real. Know. Also, yeah. Hi, Indy. Hi, Lupus. Welcome.
It's still all very much up in the air right now. The gold might be real.
It might also not be.
It might also not be. The witch might be real. Who's to say?
Yeah, let me... was just adjusting my model a bit. Okay. Maria was repeatedly barraged with questions by Rosa Obasan and the other parents and became increasingly ill-tempered when they refused to believe her. Or was the gold inside of us all along? I sure hope not. This made me think of like the terrible like death sentence method. They would like pour liquid gold down your throat or something. Oh, no. I really hope the gold was not inside all of us.
Not inside us. No, the gold was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, surprising no one at all, nobody believes Maria again.
Yeah, because she's just a little baby.
Hi, Dorbu. Welcome to the stream. Enjoy.
Hello.
We're about to see some murder. If I tried to raise my voice in this kind of situation, I would just be ignored. Our parents were all stirred up, firing back and forth about the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we children were even there. Even though I'd already figured that they had been talking like this in the shadows, I hadn't thought they would be so blunt. It gave all of us kids a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all of the parents wanted more money as soon as possible. Yeah, so all of the parents, all of the rich daddies and mommies, it's never enough, so they're like trying to strengthen their own little empires.
They're all in dire financial straits right now.
Like, that's what they're saying, but they just want to, like, they just fear change. Like, obviously, like, they would survive just fine. They're just typical rich people problems.
Yeah, that's so true. Typical rich people.
Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments in cash. It was so despicable I couldn't bear to watch, even though one of them was my father. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. Since no one particularly needed us, we left our seats and went to hang out somewhere apart from the parents.
なるほどな。
That's Jessica.
じい様が飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。金だの遺産だの。よくもまああそこまで大っぴらに。
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。
And that is us, the guy. That is the main character.
Killer.
Yeah, just I'm seeing some new face today, so I thought I'll at least name the characters.
Yeah.
These two are cousins. All of the kids here are. Well, Oh, this is voice.
これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。
He's got an interesting suit. Yeah, he certainly does. And also, if you look closely, well, I guess you can't tell from this angle on Jessica, but all of the family members who are like either directly by blood part of the family, or their children. I mean, I guess that's the same thing. They have the one-winged eagle crest somewhere on their clothings.
心底呆れたぜ。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. Honestly, Jessica's parents, like, both are literally like the worst of the adults here. If you don't count Kenzo. I could realize it from the depths of Jessica's shock.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、
This is their cousin George.
お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。
Yeah, getting rich just means that you stepped on somebody's back before. There's no way to get rich without some dirty tactics.
未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。
It's always about underpaying someone.
Yup.
でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったらうちの親父たちみたいに強欲むき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さまの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話、ヘドが出るぜ。
Honestly, it is really interesting to see how the kids differ from their parents. Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もう、この話はやめようぜ。じいさまの隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は、親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて、親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a shock. I think a better translation might be the adults play dirty. I feel like I've heard this phrase in Japanese before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a bit too literal. Which is surprising because, like, this translation team is, like, really freaking good.
Well, every now and again.
George Aniki was now pretty much an adult, and I had already been disillusioned with my dad in the first place, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But it looked like it was different for Jessica. It looked like the shock that Jessica had received was even bigger than I had thought. They keep saying shock so many times.
Shock.
Me
Oh, Hana, my beloved.
Yeah, this girl, she was always talking badly about her parents, but it looked like she hadn't changed at all on the inside since long ago. Even now, she was still a pure-hearted and delicate person who couldn't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else did. And then her parents started raging about going money, inheritance, my money. Money. Right in front of all the other parents and the children. It was no surprise that the shock of hearing that was so big.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
わかってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
Yeah, give her some space.
Like, just let her process it.
This is like a very extreme case of, oh my god, mom and dad, you're so embarrassing.
Yeah.
You like my
Child,
model's
way the hell
art
out.
style? Thank you so much. I made it myself. Both the art and the rig. Thank you.
Yeah. Niya's crazy talented.
6 years ago, I would have further taunted the dejected Jessica. I guess I really have grown over 6 years. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I realized that it would be better to leave Jessica as she was right now. What about Maria? How's she doing?
They're still grilling her, the poor girl.
No, grilling her! Cooking her! No!
Cooking her.
No! Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be left alone for now. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえば、マリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろう。
That's what I said.
多分、まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria, who truly looked up to witches, had expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would be an event that would surprise everyone and make them happy. Yeah, Maria is a little girl and she really loves witches. She wants to be a witch when she grows up. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity and without swallowing Maria's story, had thoroughly bombarded her with questions. It was hard for me to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. Like, first they would question the legitimacy of the letter itself, like from the outside, the wax and all that, and then they would also not believe any of the contents of it either.
Oh yeah,
And
like
she was
absolutely.
so excited.
So she must be just shattered right now, poor thing.
Yeah. I couldn't speak to Maria or Jessica. In the end, George, Aniki, and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
George Aniki started walking over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea now. So without going over to the television, I loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。
Is my mic noisy?
Think so?
Let me... Oh well. Okay.
天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
This is Battler's stepmom. The hot mommy that his father remarried. Kiriya. Kiriya is her name.
Mm-hmm.
キリエさんか。大人たちの積もる話はどんな感じなんすか？
It looked like she caught the sarcasm. Kiriya-san shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあ、せいぜいよろしく。じいさまの財産分配について、ハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら、私もそうしたいわ。でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね、パートナーも大変よ。
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kiriya-san took a deep breath, smiling bitterly. That's right, they probably wouldn't let Kiriya-san, who married into family, speak. Still, as Dad's partner, she had no choice but to stay by his side and support him. Yeah, this family is like they're really like they do not respect people who married into family.
Sure don't.
She must have had to bear the full brunt of this mental pressure much more than I did. No, don't shoot me.
No, just a little kitty.
I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちは、おじいさまが亡くなった時の遺産分配について、兄弟4人で話をまとめようと、ずっと密約を重ねてきた。
I will pretend that the fireworks and the background add to the atmosphere of the New Year's Eve.
そこへ未知の5人目が現れて、話をややこしくしようっていうんだから、穏便な話のわけも
At
ない
the
わ。
rain thunder. So it's a win-win.
互いを罵り合ったり、かと思えば共闘しようってことになったり、夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On the one hand, they all want a larger portion than the other siblings, so they are all rivals. But on the other hand, they don't want 1 yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they are also all allies. I haven't been told the details, but they argue on and on about their ceasefire agreement and rules to prevent anyone from getting ahead, under which their portions are protected, and which can, in the worst case scenario, even become grounds for legal action. That they would go this far to preserve their shares was more than shocking.
ってことは、ベアトリーチェはじいさまからの資格ってとこですかね。
That might be surprisingly on the nose.
Yeah.
自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに、一泡吹かせたかったんだろうぜ。
His little laugh kills me every time.
何者かしらね。 ベアトリーチェって自称してることが全て本当なら、今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて、その上当主の指輪まで委ねられている。相当に信頼された人物ね。
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど。
No, she's not that kind of witch, I think.
Not that kind of witch battler.
でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。
Everyone's so mean to Maria.
They really are. It's terrible.
She's literally baby.
She's just a baby. You
すっ
shouldn't
か
be
り怯
mean
えて
to
しまって、
babies.
聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。
Maybe Battler can talk to her, although he's also not the most considerate conversation partner. Hi,
No.
Naps. Hi. I hope baby goes apeshit. I firmly believe that Mari will go apeshit. She does such scary faces sometimes.
Oh, Naps. Oh, Naps.
Oh,
You may get
sweet
your
summer
wish.
child.
あの人たち、北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
確かなのはマリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る人物から手紙を受け取ったこと。自分で現れて直接話せばいいものを手紙
ねえバトラ君、ベアトリーチェなんて人物が本当にいると思う？
さあ。
Do you believe in Santa Beatrice Battler? Baby deserves to go apeshit as a treat. Drink water, Basti.
No, I gotcha.
The witch's power will compel her.
あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。
Oh, hi, Meow. It's so nice to see you again. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
じい様の代理人としてその妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許されたとか。
そうじゃなくて、今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。19人目が存在すると思う？
Are there really 18 people on this island? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to 18 people.
19人目が存在すると思うってどういう意味ですか？
言葉通りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。
It's one thing if everyone just said that they were that they did not give it to Mari, but almost everyone has some sort of alibi here.
なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸した
I
と思
guess
う
you
のが
could
妥当じゃない
argue that Natsuhi was sleeping alone in her room or something, or was it parlor? I don't know.
まあそうなりますね。
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？
I haven't seen that much of Kiria yet, but she has very distinct aura. When I saw her for the first time, I initially assumed that she's Rudolph bodyguard, not his wife.
Oh yeah, no, she definitely has that vibe.
She has that vibe for sure. Very badass.
少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。
Hi, Lucky Fire Dragon. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. Konniya. Stern vibe. Yeah, she's so cool.
となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、どこかで雨宿りをしていなくてはならない。私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。
I'm pretty sure she's just invisible. They have been talking about
That is
ghostly events happening at the mansion. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if she can just turn invisible. She probably spoke to Maria and when like she gave her the umbrella and the letter.
And then she pieced out.
Just didn't show herself.
でもまあこれだけの広さのある島ですし、屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
The buzzing sound is kind of unnerving.
Yeah, this is when the atmosphere
Yeah.
it starts to ramp up and the music really helps. Oh, it's such a good soundtrack.
At about this time, I began to realize what directions Kirie-san's doubts were taking us in. Kirie-san was denying that a 19th person exists. She's a Beatrice denier. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, take my hand. In other words, she thought that someone we knew well was tricking us.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはないのよ。でも私たちは誰も見ていない。
She's got a point.
Skill issue.
待ってくださいよ。それはちょいと請求な推理じゃないですか。確かに誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど、だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか。何かの理由があってこっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。悪魔の証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
バトラ君の推理の仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では19人目の存在を認めるにも否定するにも情報が足りない。でもね、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えるとほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Chesuban hikurikaishite.
Yeah.
Here is the first appearance of Turn the Chessboard Over.
Is that their cool reappearing phrase?
It sure is. Battler's gonna get a lot of use out of it.
Damn. Turn the chessboard over was one of Kirie-san's favorite phrases. Kirie-san catchphrase. I guess since she is his stepmother, it kind of makes sense if he adopted the phrase as well. I had also been influenced by those words and used them myself from time to time. When you got stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, by turning the board over and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you could often see a strategy that would give you the upper hand. It meant turning things around and putting yourself in your opponent's shoes. That's actually pretty interesting. This year I got really into certain trading card games, namely the Pokemon one and the Genshin Impact one. And it really does help to like look at your opponent's layout and think, if I were them, what would piss them off the most if the opponent did it? Like, what would be the worst thing to do for them, for their opponent?
Yeah, there's definitely value in flipping things and looking from the other perspective.
Neutral. Honestly, like, you could ask Charlie, but I honestly, when I play trading card games, when I'm winning, I always say shit like me when I'm evil and stuff.
Evil and fucked up.
And yeah, and when I see the opponent doing something dumb, I'm like, me when I'm stupid. I become so smug and evil when I play trading card games.
Competitive spirit.
Yeah.
いい？仮に19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなくこっそりとこの島に上陸し、
She's invisible. Get over it.
何かの理由があってね。ならどうしてわざわざ姿を現してマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. But even so, they had appeared openly in front of Maria. Niya channeling her Yami Yugi. To the Shadow Realm with you, fool.
それはほらマリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。
I should stream Genshin trading card game again sometimes.
Yeah.
I did that before, but I don't know if it's that interesting to watch.
I definitely think there would be an audience for it.
Cause like, I definitely know it's fun for me.
Yeah. Well, when somebody is clearly having fun, that in itself is fun to watch.
That is true, that is true.
マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
It could be just a chill stream. Honestly, could double as a talking stream.
メッセンジャーなんて必要なの？
Like, I literally play these games every day, like multiple times a day in my downtime.
手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら郵送すればいいだけの話よ。4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば黙殺することもできない。
Can you imagine Beatrice showing up at a post office? Cause I sure can't. You would watch it? That makes me happy. I love those games. They're
手
fun.
紙を持参してこっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
They recently added a bunch of new cards and they're so fun to play with.
Nice.
Like, I like Pokemon trading card game, but since it's been around for like forever, probably like 15 years at least, since Pokemon is like 20 something, I don't know when they came out, but it's like super old, so there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards.
Yeah.
And there is beauty in that there's really like no way to read what your opponent has in their sleeve, so to say. But also, I mean, as any game, there is its own meta in every like new season and stuff. But Genshin, since it's newer and smaller game and has a smaller roster of characters and smaller like bench size, it goes on, the match goes on quicker, but it still is like really fun. Yeah.
確かになんだかおかしな話っすね。
Genshin players, a lot of them always joke that like, we don't fucking care about trading card updates. Nobody plays that shit, and I'm always like, but I play that shit.
そもそもベアトリーチェが存在していて、その存在をアピールしたいなら、みんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話。
Imagine you walk into the post office and Beatrice was behind the counter with her fancy dress and a little postal employee's hat. She would not.
The contrast would be very good.
I can't imagine, genuinely.
なのに現れず、マリアちゃんという小さな子を通して、おぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ、矛盾。もっと考えて。マリアちゃんの前に姿を現し、19人目の存在を印象づけるという点と、にもかかわらず、今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点、これらの矛盾、これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すの。つまり19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ。
姿を隠したい人物ならその存在をアピールするわけがない。そして姿を現したい人物なら手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするわけがない。
I think she just likes to be dramatic.
Oh, 100.
Also, to be fair, I too don't really want to be around these people. Not
So
really.
fair. Yeah, no, they're not the most pleasant to be
If
around.
she appeared like at this point clearly before them, they would throw such a fit. Honestly, good for her for not appearing right away.
ってことは
簡単よ。ベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよ。だからこそ18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよ。
Kiria-san's logic is not like at all out of the realm of possibilities. Like, she definitely has a point.
Yep, no, she's making some good points.
She's cooking. If I didn't know better, like if I didn't see Beatrice's like sprites before and whatnot, I would have thought that maybe that's it, or maybe it's something on the supernatural side, like maybe she possessed Maria or something, because that voice switch was sure something.
Right?
これ見よがしな19人目のアピール。
She doesn't know. She just doesn't know that she's in a supernatural genre.
None of them know
They
yet.
don't know.
それで得をするのは姿を潜めた19人目じゃない。すでにいる18人の方なのよ。もちろんこの推理は穴だらけ。いくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど、私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ。
This quickly starting to sound pretty creepy. Someone had lent Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter. This couldn't have been one of the 18, and yet Beatrice was hidden amongst those 18? What was that person planning, hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど、文章の内容が非常に手が込んでて、マリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたい。でもマリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ。
おいおい、マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。でもだからこそありえると思うの。魔女に憧れ、その存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女。そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
つまりあの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すればマリアを騙すことは難しくないと。
その論法になっちゃうと、私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだけどね。とにかくマリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか。
Beatrice is actually Kinzo in drag. It's actually his ideal self.
それの詳細を聞くことがこの謎を解く一番にして最も身近な鍵なのよ。しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに閉ざされてしまったわ。みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing. Poor baby Maria. Nobody believes her.
Nobody believes her, the baby.
誰もね、マリアがベアトリーチェに会ったことを信じてくれない。ベアトリーチェとくれた手紙も見せたのに、それでも信じてくれないの。
Poor baby.
とにか
The
く
poor baby.
鍵はマリアちゃんが握ってるわ。ベアトリーチェが18人の中にいるのか19人目なのか、それを知る鍵をね。
マリアは頑固だぜ。あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の機嫌が直ったら聞いてみて。遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？
This is literally like before so many world events started happening, people were like, wow, I lived through major historical events. And now we're like, yeah, no, you don't.
Don't. Yeah, no, it definitely carries that sort of energy. It's like,
Let's hope
you don't
for the most boring life possible, please.
right?
Please, please.
Like it's not as exciting as you think it is.
Yeah.
I just want it to be boring again.
Literally this.
マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか。
With white hair and purple color, she's on that kirigiri Danganronpa shit. You have a
that's
point.
so true. Holy shit.
You have a point for sure.
知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。
It honestly wouldn't be surprising if the comparison is not coincidental.
I think that Umineko predates Danganronpa.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Danganronpa's? Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
Just like Professor Layton took a lot of inspiration from Ace Attorney and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it's like very different.
大人はすげえや。
I shrugged, surprised. But she had noticed it. She had noticed the dejection I had felt because I had overheard our parents' turbulent discussion. Was that Yutaka?
It sure was. He's in my lap right now.
I heard a giant purr in the mic.
Baby.
Hey, Сидри, добро пожаловать. Рада тебя снова видеть. Konniya. Мамочка Кирея. Mami Kiriya. And was probably trying to turn my mood around. She had at least managed to make me feel good enough to hurl abuse. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom. But it did make me think she's a real adult.
Oh, ガキども、ここにいたのか。
Finally, the music
Hello.
is back.
キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにする。
Because he wants to get away from all this bullshit.
Uh-huh.
That is a great line.
ごめんなさい。
Honestly, they do have pretty nice chemistry. Like, obviously,
They do.
the adults here are like pretty much all terrible, but you can deny that a lot of them are like very charismatic.
And you can definitely tell that all of the respective husband and wife pairs actually do love each other, in spite of the fact that they're all terrible.
女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
What a weird family. Well,
For
obviously,
sure.
like all of the family, but also this specific unit.
Mm-hmm.
The three of them. Kirie-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休止さ。こりゃ夜通しになりそうだぜ。
Семейная игра, согласитесь. Да блин, такая семейка, что просто челюсть у меня отпадает от каждой новой главы.
泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal, energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。どうする
？3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。
Ochamaja battler.
気使って向こうに戻るぜ。
If he became a witch apprentice, Maria would be overjoyed.
そうか。
For real.
They should be one together.
すぐ戻
They
る。
should be one together. That would be so cute.
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。それで、バトラー。お前、今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかい？
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
Oh.
なんだよ。柄にもねえな。
Apparently, Kirie-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. Anyhow, it looked like Kirie-san didn't have a clue what Dad was talking about either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから頼む。
I don't think there's anyone who ignores their family as much as this old bastard. And this was the guy that was asking us to have a talk as a family. Both Kirie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
そうビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。
He is raising very valid points. Now's really not the time to, like, think about his character or whatever.
何しろ。
Scary things are happening. At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. Even though putting on airs of importance wasn't much like my dad.
気持ち悪いぜ親父。今家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
俺は多分今夜殺される。
Dun dun dun.
That is so scary. That is like even more scary than what I have imagined he was gonna say. Oh. There was a huge crash of thunder. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself and which always wore a taunting expression, was for some reason that I couldn't explain, strangely frail. It was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
Huh?
This game has such vivid descriptions. I really love it.
何言
You
ってんだ
can
よ、
really,
ガでもね。
really picture it.
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。あなたらしくもない。
俺も化粧直しに行ってくる。
God, Rudolph.
Oh,
ついてくるね。
Rudolph.
God. I feel for him. Dad turned away weakly. After that, only Kirie-san and I were left, still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ。
You gotta look slay when he dies.
Gotta be looking all pretty.
Oh, you find his corpse with completely beat face, beat makeup.
今夜殺される？まさか。あの妙な手紙のせいで、親父ビビっちまったのか？連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Kirie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら 話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると、
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
At first, I really doubted that Battler was a well-suited protagonist, but now seeing this side of Kiriya, it really, like, I can see where he would get the personality of a murder mystery novels detective.
ええ、見えるわよ。
And like, you could raise a point of like, well then why not just make Kiriya the protagonist? And that could work, but also having one of the children be the protagonist means that he pretty much can both interact with the children, with the cousins, and with adults. Because he's like, what, 18 or almost 18? I think 18.
He's 8. He's 18. Yeah.
He's 8.
18.
He's 8.
He's 8.
Yeah, Maria's younger brother. Shirley acts like it sometimes.
話したい
Well,
ことがある。
that's so true.
でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。だから追ってきて
Looks
俺に
8 to
話しかけて聞き出してくれ。
The boy, a young boy of 8.
ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。
The tender age of 8.
ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれが正解。
She's like, you know, she pegs. Like, you can really tell why Rudolph fell for her.
God, I mean, you're not wrong.
Take it as you will. I said what I said.
まあ、甘えん坊さんなんだから。
そういう推理でいいんすか？そんなんめちゃくちゃな。
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？
It's my time to take my evening pills. Take your pills, kids.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget.
Don't forget.
It's important.
Yeah. Oh, he's taking it as he will, all right.
できないでしょ？異性の気持ちを探るのは何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーなんだから。
She's such a cultured woman, like unironically.
はあ、そういうもんすかね。
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど、今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ、そりゃあお熱いことで。じゃあ、うちのクソ親父の世話をよろしく頼みますよ。
I love that he... Oh my god, Jesus.
Oh,
Stop shooting.
big one.
They're still shooting.
They're really going at it. Good lord.
Okay, anyway.
ええ、任せておいて。
This is the second time we have fireworks at the same time.
No.
Yeah, we are almost in the same time zone. Naps and I are 1 hour away.
Oh.
I called out to Kiriya-san's departing back.
え？何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
ならよかった。
This is Beatrice shooting up these bitches.
コミュニケーションは大事ね。
After answering with a wink, Kiriya-san followed after Dad. Beatrice's warning shots. Yeah. Natsuhi could be found in the dimly lit hallway like a ghost. Now and then the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsuhi's expression. Her expression was completely worn out. She had like probably, well, arguably the worst day of everyone here. Maybe like on par with Maria, but like proportionate to their age groups. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuhi's mind. Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, all of the inheritance and property of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Kraus, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to succeed the head. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. Yes, since Kraus is the oldest brother of the adults of the siblings, he was meant to be the next head of the family after Kinzo dies. But with Beatrice's proposal, it is not so clear anymore.
Indeed.
It's like one in a lifetime chance. It was obvious that they would accept Beatrice's proposal. There was no need to play that clumsy detective game. She knew that the so-called 19th person, Beatrice, couldn't exist. Oh, it's okay, Naps, don't worry about it. Naturally, Beatrice was nothing more than a fictional character used to pass a message that Kinzo had written himself. Beatrice is Kinzo's OC, you see. The proof...
Original character, do not steal.
The proof was that Kinzo remained stubbornly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he had given up the head's ring. Yeah, the wax seal that was on the letter, I'm like pretty sure it can only be made with the ring that Kinzo had, and he threw that shit into the window.
He sure did.
Yeah, he gave it to Beatrice in a way, I think, so it makes sense that the letter that she gave to Maria would have it. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared. And someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter and the umbrella. That actually has some interesting points. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. Cause like, imagine if you were Maria, like, crying her eyes out in the thunderstorm, and if like Shannon really like appeared with an umbrella in the dress and the wig or whatever, who's to say that's not a real Beatrice? I'm like pretty sure that's not what happened, but I'm saying that it could.
It's definitely a possibility.
Epic Kinzo prank. In that case, it was the same as Kinzo trying to butt in on the siblings' private discussion. Then Kinzo, by announcing that he would give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, could weaken Kraus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had listened in on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. No, he was drinking himself silly in his little dungeon. So he had known how Kraus had staved off the attack by the other three. And to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out the strange letter which benefited the other three. He was trying to push this crazy theory so that Rosa, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age, and Eva and Rudolph could join together and with 3 against 1 could overwhelm Kraus yet again. Kinzo doing a bit too much trolling. He's like, well, he's the insane old man. I don't know what you expect. And by doing
it's
that,
his favorite pastime.
he gave them the power to resettle what had once been a nearly decided conflict. They had now started repeatedly pressing Kraus to pay them a large amount of money. Inheritance by age is like so stupid, honestly.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Like, I understand that that's been a thing for like, I don't know, thousands of years probably, but like in its root it's like, it's really stupid.
Yeah. It's dumb.
It's dumb. Using the condition that all of the siblings would guarantee Kraus the succession to the family head, talk about the advance payment which had once been denied was being brought up again. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Oshinomiya family's store of wealth was vast. Just that store was worth more than enough by itself. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Well, rich people are insatiable. Therefore,
They always want more.
even if they, and that's going to be their downfall.
Yup.
Therefore, even if they weren't that interested in the gold itself, Kinzo had managed to instill the lifelong fear that on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be granted the position of family head. This is the Kardashians for weebs.
So true.
This is like pretty much the reality TV to me.
And then it gets even more exciting when the bodies start hitting the floor.
And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor to the head, Kraus. The other siblings had found, no, they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Kraus could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuhi, as Kraus's only ally in his painful position, and as his wife, wanted to fight alongside him. She kept trying to explain to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce and that there was no need for him to compromise. Kraus had always told Natsuhi. He had told all of the siblings. He always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than an illusion created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsuhi had believed that as his wife, and on that foundation had supported her husband. Even so, Natsuhi's words didn't reach Kraus. Even though Natsuhi had fought so hard and had lent all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other 3 siblings. Natsuhi sadly and weakly wondered why she could not be of use to him and started getting angry she should kill him. I can't wait for Natsuhi to go insane and kill him. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool their heads. Natsuhi had flared up against Kraus. Ooh, things are getting juicy. Enraged, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. She had then told her that he wanted to talk about something and invited her into a room that she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling.
他の3人の言うことも、ベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも、何も気にかけることはありません。黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
Kraus removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsuki to enter.
入りたまえ。
Daddy wants to take you to the shed.
Oh God.
Probably awful to hear that if you haven't seen the Tumblr post. It's true though.
It's true though.
But yeah, there's a Tumblr post with a screenshot from Grindr, I think. So it's like this guy trying to flirt or whatever by sending like a weird picture of a shed and be like, Daddy wants to take you to the shed.
Now that you mentioned that, I do think I've seen that post. Yes.
Awful.
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
What is it? What is it? Natsuki timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. It was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Kraus entered behind her, pushing her in, and when he closed the door before turning on the lights, the two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Kraus locking the door rang out through the dark. He's not gonna kill her, is he?
No.
これは、明かりは。
今つける。待ちたまえ。
Just as he said, when Kraus pushed a switch on the wall, a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは。
Is it Beatrice? Is it the Beatrice's room? Does she actually have her own bedroom? In the middle of the room, a small round table had been set, and the lights brightened only that table as if it were the leading part of a play. On top of the table, a red tablecloth of elaborate design had been set out, covered with dust. And on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsuhi's breath away. A gold nugget!
凄まじい純度を持つ
I'm gonna
黄
eat
金
it.
のインゴットだ。
Nom 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 nom
Ow,
nom.
ow, 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 ow.
In my mouth now, 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 now.
誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
Breaks my teeth like in Tom and Jerry. Oh yeah, these bars are like enormous.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, they're no joke.
Yeah, that is not a overestimation. These guys are huge. It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified gold glint.
こいつはまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか、それすらも私にはわからないんだ。
It took a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots, and in order to verify the purity, it was standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry.
ここを見たまえ。怯えることはない。こいつはただの金塊だ。
Natsuhi, following Kraus's words, timidly approached the ingot.
そこだ。
Kraus pointed at the surface of the ingot. Yeah, it has the family crest.
Sure does.
Natsuhi concentrated on that section. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsuhi's breath was taken away once again.
そうだよ。これこそが親父がベアトリーチェに与えられたといい 保証人のマルソーの会長に任意で一つを抜き取らせて持ち帰らせ、財界のフィクサーたちを信用させたという方々に手を尽くして私が見つけた。他の兄弟たちより早くね。
そんな、じゃあお父様の黄金伝説は。
The gold is real.
The gold is real.
後宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は実在するのだよ。
そんな、本当にあるなんて。
This is totally not related to anything, but naps. You know how my bot that sends out timed messages is called Tomatron 9000? I think it would be funny if you doodle like a robot Niya little doodle or something. If you want, of course. I just thought of that.
Robot Niya.
Tomatron 9000 real. Natsuhi was shocked. Kraus had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication. So she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. Yeah, it would be like, what's his name? Robonyan? Robonyan version of the Yokai Watch, what's his freaking name?
Jibanyan.
Jibanyan. Yeah, Robonyan. Roboniya.
Roboniya.
Roboniya. I think that would be cute. And then since Tomatron is like an actual account I had to make, I would like set it as an icon maybe.
Oh, that would be cute.
I'm sure we would find like even more fun ways to use it later. However, the reality was different since he held definite proof. He had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. So yeah, maybe he did not find all of the gold, but he had a definite proof that it existed, which is like already a lot. Because of this, Kraus was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold that he had failed to find, costing him everything. But to Natsuhi, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that as Kraus's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had been selflessly supporting him. And yet, he had hid this fact from her until today. Why?
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足りないというのですか。
Poor Natsuhi.
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか。
落ち着きたまえ。
Yeah, like, a partner, a spouse is supposed to be your biggest ally to the point where, like, legally, you're not even allowed to testify against your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
劇場にすぐ駆られるのは君の悪い癖だ。
Kraus, you suck.
He really does so bad.
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか。私は後宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。
Like, we only seen her on this, like, family meeting weekend, so we may have a pretty, like, skewed perception of what she's like, but she's, like, genuinely had been cornered so much by everyone, including someone who was supposed to be always on her side.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I only can, like, deduce so much, but I think it's better if we do not all think that she's just, like, a overly emotional bitch.
Yeah.
I really think she's not.
She's not.
She's had a day.
She has had
And
a day
her
and
husband
then
is
some.
so terrible. Would you stay sane if your husband was Kraus?
No.
He's so terrible.
あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか。そんなことって。
Crow's grimaced, looking annoyed. Oh my god. Jesus. Oh, hi, Manic. You meow?
Manic?
Hello. What do you want? Charlie, can you let her out? She doesn't want to be here. Let me let out the cat.
Ducky tea.
That kitty. I should bring her to say hi.
Manic.
Say hi, baby. Okay, you may go. Maybe she wanted to see the fireworks.
Maybe.
She's like, that may sound like a joke, but she's like fearless. That cat. She does
Fearless.
not care. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuhi. He's literally the type of man who would send his wife to, like, what's it called? To be lobotomized.
Oh yeah.
Because she's having woman problems in her head.
She's having the
She's-
female
the hysteria.
female issues. The hysteria.
Like, this is it.
私はもうあなたの力になれそうもありません。
She looks like she's like about to kill herself, and he's like, that's fine, okay.
He sucks
Fine.
so much.
兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決する。君の力は借りんよ。
Not the right thing to say, dude.
Like, Eva sucks because she's so, like, sadistic, and Rudolph sucks for his own reasons too, but this guy's just, like, heartless.
Yep.
違います。これは後宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。私には力添えする資格もないのですか。あなた。
君を思えばこそ、あえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に障るだろう。君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。君は関係ない。
Like, he's trying to sound like he cares about her well-being, but actually he says, like, get out of my way, woman.
それだけだ。
Really casting her aside. A dull headache tormented Natsuhi. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scent she burned, it wouldn't heal. On the other hand, by standing here alone in a dimly lit corridor, her head filled with the sound of the rain, she felt like the pain had softened a little. Yeah, this is... What year is this again?
1986.
This is 1986, so she can't just turn on YouTube and listen to the sounds of the rain to help her migraines.
Nope.
Hi, Slime! Did I say hi to you yet? Welcome. Konniya. Even if I am Natsuhi, I am not Oshiramiya Natsuhi. I am a borrowed womb. I am despised and abused for not even being able to take care of that. Even so, I have tried to properly perform the duties of a wife, but have been rejected even by my husband. I did my best as though raising my daughter was the last job left to me. However, my anger and sadness having no place to go caused me to subconsciously strain the relationship too. Because I have been excessively strict in Jessica's education, I am thoroughly disliked by her. Jessica despises me for not being interested in anything but grades. There is no longer anything I can do for the Ushinomiya family. No, that's no good. Even so, I must help my husband dislodge the schemes of the other greedy siblings. Is she gonna be the first one to kill in the name of Kraus and ensuring that he stays the head of the family? That's like entirely possible. Somebody gotta start the killing.
Somebody's gotta start it. That's true.
This is like really the vibe I'm getting. Like they're really setting up the why here. The head won't be around much longer. Eventually Kraus will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor who everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushinomiya family. Girl killing, girl maiming, girl destroying.
Oh, bestie, there are so many girls who kill and maim and destroy in Umineko. It is so good.
In the days to come, the greedy Ushinomiya Eva will probably be plotting to find some fault with the main family. Yeah, she would.
Oh,
she already tricked Kenzo into like staying in the family despite marrying into another family. So this is like not at all beyond the Eva we know. So that if all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession with George in her place. Yeah, since she like I understand the fear, because like since George is a man and Jessica is a woman and it all is very patriarchal, so she's just trying her best to make sure Jessica inherits the title. It is regrettable, but George is a man and even more has matured as a person. Compared to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are slightly below average, it can be seen at a glance who is more fit to succeed the head. So in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will have become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Was that Natsuhi trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? I was just thinking the same thing!
Yeah.
Natsuhi thought back to the days when she'd had no choice but to marry into the Ushinomiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She didn't even have a choice?
Yeah,
she's doing all that and not even out of her own choice. That's really tragic.
It's sad, yeah. Natsuhi is sad.
She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten that and had actively attended to the life she had been given at Ushinomiya family and had built up a new life. But it felt like just now all of that had been casually rejected. Natsuhi helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, which was cooled thanks to the raindrops beating against it, was somehow refreshing. Even though it should have been emotionless, right then it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsuhi. she's having her sad girl riding a bus in the rain moment.
Yes.
Listening to music. At that point, even if someone had appeared, Natsuki probably wouldn't have cared in the state she was in. She's going numb.
She's going through it.
I really understand. I also, since I've gone through some shit, I also can get really emotional and like angry, and that can change with like periods of being numb, which is like a reaction. The reaction that my body had developed to try and deal with really extreme emotions, just going completely numb. It's like,
Sure.
it feels really fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, it might feel from the outside that going numb is not as bad as more like outgoing expressions, but it really feels like you're dehumanizing yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
Trying to suppress anything inside. But she did care, because it was her beloved daughter.
母さんか。なんだよ、こんなところに。幽霊かと思ったぜ。
Just like always, her words were rough and not at all like a girl's. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell in the English translation, but Jessica does have a very masculine speech pattern. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuhi's throat. However, their strength gave out and they didn't escape her lips.
ジェシカ、ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる？
そう。
Jessica was slightly disconcerted when she first spotted her mother's feebleness. Until just now, she had been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now, only a tiny bit of those feelings remained. All of it had been wiped out by her mother's completely exhausted face. In its place, the words that George had told her floated back up in her mind. The parents are doing their best in their own way. And since they were supporting their family, they couldn't afford to keep everything pleasant and had a heavy responsibility to fight. Couldn't her mother have been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that? Jessica didn't like her mother, so it would be hard to give her mother words of kindness even if she looked a little frail. Therefore, when she tried to talk to her mother kindly anyway, she had to gather up the words from deep in her heart, both fists clenched. Hi. Hi, Matthias. Welcome to the stream. Konniya. We're sad. Yeah.
Having a sad girl moment.
Sad girl moment, indeed. Enjoy the stream.
お前には関係あります。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？私、薬もらってこようか。
They're both trying, but it's so hard.
構わないで結構です。お願いだから、一人きりにして。
Honestly, knowing Natsuhi's like position in the family, it wouldn't be surprising if she was the one kind of hating Jessica for what she is and what she represents, but she's honestly like trying to make sure she like grows up decent and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, obviously her ways are pretty extreme, so I can understand both sides.
Indeed.
But she's like, yeah. Like, a lot of these characters feel like real people. In which they are not like black and white. Oh, thank you for the follow. Yay, yay. Natsuki was not being unsociable. She just wanted her daughter to go far away so that she didn't have to bump into Natsuki's own short temper. Yeah, like, you can really tell that she's just sending her away so that she doesn't get even more aggravated and doesn't lash out on her by accident.
Yeah, she's trying to protect her.
But there was no chance that her intentions would reach Jessica. This is so sad. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Looking at that expression, Natsuki realized that Jessica was trying to muster up the strength to be kind to her mother. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings.
じゃあ私行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないようにいとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, who was trying to leave and looked lonely, to a stop.
何？
気遣いをありがと
う。She asked if she wanted medicine. Didn't like put a fight or anything when she sent her away.
Yeah.
Mama!
お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
心配をかけました。もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
She's trying to act so strong. If I stay here any longer, my feeble expression would actually make my daughter feel more uncomfortable. Thinking this, Natsuki left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. Krau's not telling certain secrets to his wife, and Natsuki not wanting to inconvenience her daughter, and Jessica not wanting to overstep the boundaries that her mother sets. They are all trying to be considerate of each other, but in the end they're like all really, really disconnected.
Yeah, it's just really sad. Like, there's just the lack of communication and the contrasting feelings that they all have.
Like, they talk, but not about important stuff.
Nope. It's so sad.
There's so much baggage between them. This time, Jessica... Like, it would be so much easier to just make her an evil mom who is, like, really strict and want her to be, like, a perfect lady.
Mm-hmm. But no, she's an actual complex person.
It's just, like, really... Like, the actual stabbings didn't even start, but this is, like, already stabbing me in the heart. I do enjoy cool stories like, you know, like giant robots and space adventures and like all that stuff, but like at my core the emotional complexities is what always fascinated me the most in stories. This time Jessica called out to her mother's back. Natsuki stopped and turned around, asking what business Jessica had with her. But Jessica herself did know why she had stopped her mother. And for a while, she smiled wryly, muttering to herself as she hesitated over what to say. This is like a good place to maybe like hug, but they definitely don't seem like the family who would do that.
No, they're not gonna be able to hug.
She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something, and she took it out.
あのさ、母さん、私さ、今日お守りもらったんだよ。
She's gonna give her a protective charm that Maria gave her.
Yep, yep. Wee,
なんだっけな。
wee.
No way. Oh my god.
確かそのドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ。忘れちまったぜ。 私が持ってても仕方ないし、母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her by the beach that day. Although she had heard of its various effects on Maria, right now Jessica's mind was blank and she was just barely able to say even that much. Jessica, thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept it anyway, immediately drew back the hand she had stuck out, grasping the charm. So when Natsuhi came back to take it, she was extremely shocked.
これは何かの景品？
まあ私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけどよ。こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃご利益は期待でき
It's
ねえ
the
よな。
thought that counts. But her mother grasped that hand and accepted the scorpion charm.
ありがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度、私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを代わりにあげましょう。
Like, it's literally like a cheap looking mumbo jumbo protective charm from Magic, but she's reacting so sweetly.
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。
Soon.
でもまあどうしてもって言うなら。
では、私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいので、ジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
Honestly, this is making me tear up a little bit.
Get ready.
Natsuhi put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall. You my poor Victorian child, Aaron. Are you okay there?
That's me. I'm doing all right.
やっぱり明日も丸一日こんな天気みたいだね。
I am going to hit the bathroom. So if you and others in the chat, if you want to take a little break and do your own stuff as well, now's a good time and I'll be back soon.
Okay.
Yeah, when I returned, I also saw that my model was sleeping on Aaron's shoulder. Cute.
Oh,
Hehehe. Hi. I've returned. Cozy
Welcome back.
Clock and Rain ASMR. There is clock. Okay.
やれやれ。今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
George, Aniki, and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she had calmed down a little since she had left.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや。さっき戻ってきて、今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Looking at the clock, it was a little past 10 p.m. Even if we were going to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room. Go to your room!
うちのお袋が屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。どうする？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、僕たちはお屋敷にいない方がいいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
Munching. I made me a little grilled cheese.
Guild cheese.
After grilled cheese! Grilled cheese! Crunch munch. After we discussed that, Rosa-oba-san came into parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria.
ローザおばさん。マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら？
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そう。ならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。いとこのみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
Someone's gonna die this night. I know it. It seemed that in the shadow behind those words, there was some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
それは僕のことかい？僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As we said this, Rosa-oba-san smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おーいマリア、熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
僕が背負うよ。
Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. George Aniki picked her up and pulled her over his back, like a sack of potatoes. It's raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looked like Rosa-oba-san would come out with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Kraus Oji-san's voice call out to her. She had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。もう戻らないと。皆さん、ゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
It's Beatrice. Cosplayer. After we left the hall on the way to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened and Shannon-chan stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていってくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon-chan brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looked like we couldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、重くねえか？俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。わかりました。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、おばさん。それでは、お送りしてまいります。ええ、よろしく。
Rosa Obasan saw us off.
マリア、いつもごめんね。
Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor anyone else, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。
Shut up. Shut up, Battler.
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being nudged by Jessica, Shannon folded up her umbrella and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ。僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら。
あれ？今日のシフト、深夜勤は誰になってんだ？親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
大丈夫です。
Sprays Battler's face with water spray. Bad Butler, bad.
Yeah, you need to keep a water bottle on hand at all times for Beth.
For real.
ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので。
It's like you know there are like head pats and bongs for the VTubers. But we need to carry like a PNG of a hammer and bonk it on his head, on his
Bonk
being
it on Butler's
nasty.
head.
ちょっと失礼しますね。
Need to redeem for a Battler bonk, and I will just move it around.
Bonk, 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 bonk.
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and put Maria in the bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. We got some drinks out of the room's refrigerator and spent some time playing cards while drinking.
あれ？カノン君？源氏様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか？
クラウス様の命令があってね、シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。
This is really freaking suspicious. I do not trust Goda at all, and him being on the night shift, I don't trust it like that.
シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの新夜勤。私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。
Kraus is planning something.
お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう。
Why Shannon though?
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Canon had been given the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house where all of the relatives were staying had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa should have been staying at the guest house, while Genji should have been staying in the mansion. However, it seemed that Kraus had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had all been reversed, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
多分ベアトリーチェ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分ってどうし
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Genji, Shannon, and Kanon were all permitted to wear the Ushinomiya family crest, the one-winged eagle, as the servants who served directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushinomiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders, but their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Kraus could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, they were often viewed by Kraus as the others, and the others as Kinzo's underlings and shunned. In reality, Kinzo would seldom let anyone other than them enter his study. You could probably say this sudden shift change clearly expressed the sense of mistrust that caused. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Kraus definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶよう。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
So we just crossed the 2-hour mark. Aaron, what do you want to do?
We're so close, but I am starting to falter. So 1:30. Well, I mean it's 1:30 for me.
So 30 more minutes?
30 more minutes.
Okay.
And if we didn't get to murder in 30 minutes, I am sorry, but I have to go lie down.
Yeah, I think even now, if you so desire, I could just keep playing and you could join in the chat if that's better for you. I wouldn't mind at all.
No, that's okay. I can do half an hour more.
Genji nodded back, went behind the screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension. I'm not the fastest reader.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方。
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかった。
ふん、どうしてだい？それとも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんかありません。
そっか。なら二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく、姉さん。
私 ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically, gazing at Kanon uncertainly. Kanon didn't try to meet her eyes and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤仰せつかってる。それに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
そんなことわかってます。
She had already expected that Kanon, who considered rules to be very important, would probably say something like that, but even so, she was a little discouraged. As Kanon turned over a diary, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。深夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
私謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change, and flew out of the servant room after giving a quick bow. As he watched her back go, Kanon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノン、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけで言えばお前も誘われている。
Aww.
たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが、僕らは家具ですから。
But we are only furniture. The fuck does that even mean? I'm still so confused.
姉さんだって
We will find
家具
out.
です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. After a while, he stood up and used a pot of hot water to make powdered cocoa and served some to Kanon as well. Wow.
そりゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
They're having a good old sleepover fun.
They are.
声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Butler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cards everywhere. Fool. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab, and he lowered his voice.
いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
Are they talking about George and Shannon having hots for each other? George could not be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon had come into the room, George had suddenly said that he had forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon had said that she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them had departed together.
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
Getting these kinds of cutesy moments, it's gonna make what comes after all the more fucked up and heartbreaking.
Yup.
Oh yeah, remember the puzzle? One of the steps was like to break apart those who are together
The
or
two
something.
that are close. Break apart the two that are close. Yep.
Yeah, like I'm like pretty sure this is what is being set up.
そういや、昔からジョージの兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。なるほどな。
It's just us and the visual novel rain overlay against the world.
The world.
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。では明後日までは船は来られないかもしれませんね。
Although it's not like George lives at this mansion like Jessica does.
Right.
So they wouldn't get a whole lot of chances to meet. So I understand they would want to spend a little more time together, honestly.
ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to his normally calm appearance that George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this gap.
さすが。やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
Shannon loves his gap moe.
She sure does.
会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものが父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？
Peace and love on Oshiromiya. Wait, what's the peace and love on the Rokkenjima Island? There we go.
Exactly, there you go.
I would say calm before the storm, but this is literally already storm, so
なんだかイメー
It's
ジ
already stormy.
信玄は部下たちを消す。例えば
I don't care about
戦場
this.
で
Can
武
we
功
like
を立てた部下普通
You
こういうのは
didn't
それを
run.
I don't care
戦
about
場
your
の本陣の
historical
中にいなが
flirting.
ら部下の武
Yeah,
功を素
like
早く
let's move along, George. Get to the point.
This is probably one of those moments, like, I'm not judging, I swear, I'm not judging, but this is probably like one of those moments where the writer is like just really passionate about history. We just don't have that kind of
皆
time.
さんもついてきて
Nope.
くれたんです
We need to get to the juicy bits. Like
Yeah.
people need to start dying.
The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. But when George started to tie his father in and with one of these stories, he would always be beaming, looking like he was having a great time. She engages with his autism. She's niceys like that.
She's super nicey.
So Shannon just smiled without interrupting, urging him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界
We,
では
however, have the
お
luxury
金は
of
力
skipping
で
his words.
石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り
He
立たない。
does have at least like some sort of integrity.
大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよく。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
あ、ごめん。別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
Since she doesn't have parents.
すみません。私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Nerds. Shannon had no parents. She had been brought up in an orphanage owned by Kinzo called the Fukui House. Under the guidance of the honorary director Kinzo, the orphanage offered excellent graduates a chance to live a life of service. That is not exactly
Yeah.
See, kids, work hard and study hard, and you may just have a privilege of being called furniture in this McMansion. they were accepted, they would be able to leave the orphanage and work as servants for the Ushiramiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for a graduate. Servants from the Fukuin house all took names with the character on in them while they served. Ah, so that's why we have Kanon and Shannon.
Yep.
Kanon. What does the on kanji mean though?
Sound.
Ah, like onpu.
Yep.
So Shannon wasn't her real name. Same goes for Kanon. All of the graduates from the Fukuin house were orphans. Or you could say that they were all people who, through special circumstances, had been disowned by their parents. Because of this, the graduates had been taught to think of each other as their own family, only family. That's why it seemed so natural to Kanon when he called Shannon his sister. And while only Shannon and Kanon were working today in the mansion, there are other servants who worked in the shift rotation named Manon and Renon, who also inherited the on character in the names. I do recognize the Renon is probably the one from Rengai.
Yep.
I don't know about Manon.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the first one in Manon either. My kanji's bad.
Kanji bad. I only know the simple ones.
Yeah.
However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushiramiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for over 10 years, was an exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiramiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the graduates from the orphanage realized what a harsh task working for the Ushiramiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. They all wanted to be sold to One Direction.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that Shannon had managed to continue for more than 10 years shouldn't be viewed as her having more willpower than any of the other servants. Maybe she was made to continue working for 10 years because she didn't have the courage to say that she wanted to quit. To Kinzo, who could not even trust his own blood relatives, though excellent servants sent from the Fukuin house were the only ones he could trust. They're like one step away from being child soldiers.
Basically, yeah.
Which makes complete sense considering Kinzo literally like aided in the war.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control and have them work close to him.
バトラ君にもきっと弱点はあるよ。
But yeah, it's really is wild that the servants can wear a crest, but Natsuhi, who married into the family, can't. Even though she's the wife of the next head of the family, at least presumed.
Mm-hmm.
だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい？
どうでしょう。別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
Find a different job.
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい？
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし、お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし、奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
I mean, obviously work is work, but she does get to live in a very like pretty place.
Yeah, the lodging is good at least.
Yeah. She's like guaranteed the sleep place. She has her own room, I bet, and the food and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not excusing it, but since she came up from very, like, unfortunate circumstances, I can understand why she would want to stay.
Absolutely.
でも
She's all
そ
alone
れ
in the
はシャノン
world.
ちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Sayo. Real name, huh?
Yep.
えっと
Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and closed her mouth.
僕は成人し社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。子供の頃僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
When they were students, everyone has certain fears that they can't shake. Wondering whether they will live the rest of their lives like they were in sleepy classes after a monotonous and boring school day. Spending their time in a carefree laziness without anything interesting happening until it was all over. However, these thoughts will only arise while a person is still an underage student. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as a student is nothing more than a blink of the eye, a period where they break through the shells of their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating, and boring world, but the world beyond the shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She hadn't been able to doubt her way of life. And since she never had any hope or goal to change herself, she had continued her life of idleness. And if she were asked whether this life was satisfying, she wouldn't have been able to nod. This might have caused her to avert her eyes from the truth. As long as she wasn't admonished by George, she would have continued pretending not to notice as her real life slipped away, neglected bit by bit.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
いけないよ。あ、それから今ルール違反が一つあったね。
George immediately gave a strict answer and then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and it seemed that it embarrassed her as she hung her head.
僕たちしかいないときは様はなしの約束だよ。
Oh, ooh la la.
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
Like, this phrase usually sounds scary, but now it literally just sounds like role playing. Wait,
Right, like-
is it still role playing if they are literally like a master and a servant?
じゃあ
That's the question.
命
They're
令だよ。
just horny teens.
Well, George is 23.
Oh, okay.
かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face red, she said George's name again, this time using Sang.
それでいいよ、さよちゃん。
A smile rose to George's face, praising Shannon's, no, Sayo's small act of bravery. Sayo-chan. Just watching this conversation would give anyone the feeling of how close their relationship was. For a long while, the two talked as if the weather raging around them didn't even enter their consciousness. They talked about the many memories they'd built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would slice through the rain. I love this phrasing, slice through the rain. But this could sully neither the roses nor the time they spent blushing at each other.
そうだ、君に見せたいものがあって。
なんでしょうか。
Unzips his pants.
No, not that.
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. Shannon also noticed something about his appearance. George timidly searched through his pocket. Something got caught in the depths of his pocket, and just like the stuttering George, it took a little while to get it out. Some romance before the storm. Yeah, it is during the storm, as we established. It was a very small box. A small box covered in a deep blue velvet. A proposal!
Yeah.
An engagement ring! Oh shit! They get real. That peculiar shape was enough to make anyone realize what was resting inside. Shannon had prepared her heart a little, thinking it must be something like that. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened a small box, took that thing out, and held it out for Shannon to take it.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものは
受け取れない。
いえ、こんなもの私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。
That's not a
Maybe don't
very
phrase it
good
like that.
tone to set for a relationship, you know?
Yeah.
この指輪を受け取って。ね。
命令では従わなくてはなりません。
They're so into it.
いい子だよ。
They're totally just playing it up for the hornies.
Yeah.
Phew! Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble object which since ancient times was meant to be held with a special meaning and offered to a special woman. Therefore, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Saya's own will.
だから、ここからはもう命令じゃない。
Well, at least they established that he's not literally forcing her.
さよ。
Right. Like, thank God.
言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。
Without using words? You say?
わかるね。もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから。
God.
僕は君に命令はしない。
Thank you, Matthew. Enjoy your game too. Thank you.
でも、指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら、好きな指につけてくれればいい。
Shannon had only pretended not to know. She had already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよう。
Tomorrow, if there is one.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のサヨの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。
I do feel a certain way about him talking how she's like been really sheltered and didn't even start her life yet, and then doing this, like he may be thinking that he's given her like a push and a chance, but ultimately I think this is like a bit too far too soon.
Yes.
Like she deserves
Absolutely.
to go into the world and like discover herself before committing to something like this. Otherwise she'll just end up like Natsuhi, I don't know.
Yeah.
わかるね。
like, knowing her, she would probably be happy to just, be a housewife since homemaking is all she knows so far.
Right. Right.
だから、それが命令。今夜よく考えて、明日、その返事を見せてほしい。
It's like ultimately what it boils down to in master-servant relationships, and there's a very obvious imbalance in roles. Like, if they
Yes.
do end up as a family unit, even if he does, like, pushes her to do more with her life and other stuff, it still has this kind of undertone of being not really, like, deciding to do it for herself and only doing it because he nudged her in that direction.
Right.
So it really
Yeah.
makes you wonder if, well, anything she does is genuine anymore.
Right, or if it's all
It's
because of his
complicated.
nudging. Tis it that.
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their long relationship. This moment had not come as any surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いと、みんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。私、お屋敷に用を思い出しまして、お屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に
The music is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
As always, really playing up the atmosphere.
本当かな。
Oh yeah, we just got to 30. Do you want to go lay down? Maybe keep watching and being in the chat?
I think I'm gonna just go lie down.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to go take nappy.
Yeah. You go rest. I will keep playing for a bit more, and then you can
Sure.
watch the VOD later.
Yeah, I'll watch the VOD later.
Love you, bestie.
Okay. Love
Hugs
you
and
guys.
kisses.
Thank you. Sorry, sick
It's
chickie.
okay.
Gotta go rest.
You're my little Victorian child. Go rest.
Mm.
Love you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay. Yeah, I really like checked with Erin many times to make sure. Cause like I wouldn't mind at all if we had to reschedule, that's okay. But she really wanted to play with me. Let me not this one. Keyboard and mouse. There we go. Okay. George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He definitely saw through Shannon's lie. However, after noticing that feeling, it wasn't as if he couldn't understand that she might be so embarrassed that she'd want to be alone. So because George realized the meaning behind Shannon's lie, he accepted it. And that concludes this chapter, I think. And about an hour passes. Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tattered gate. A mixture of exaltation and uncertainty gave her a feeling that she couldn't easily describe. It swelled up in her chest until it felt like she was about to burst. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in a crossword puzzle magazine, completely worn out. He looked up for an instant to see whether one of the family had come, but when he realized that it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened.
源氏様より郷田さんのお手伝いにつくように言われてまいりました。
ああ、そうですか。それは助かります。そろそろ戸締まりの見回りに行きたかったのですが、ここを開けてもいいものか困っていたのです。何しろ旦那様方の街道はまだだいぶ続きそうですからね。いつ何時お茶のご用命があるかも分かりませんし。
そうですよね。ではどうしましょうか。
ではシャノンさん、申し訳ありませんがお屋敷内の見回りをお願いします。私はここで親族の皆さんのご用命の待機をしておりますので。
はい。
Shannon was a little surprised. Despite the fact that she had come here to help out as a favor, she was being forced to do the job of the person actually on the duty, as though it were natural. Oh my god, so I'm reading the text on the screen, but I also am looking at my model and the chat, and for like 30 seconds or so while reading, I mistaken the black tip of my tail as a bug on the screen. I feel like this happened before too. Because like the rest of the tail is white and I can't really see it in my peripheral vision, but I do clearly see the tip like a bug on my screen. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda had once again gone back to his magazine and had become immersed in his crossword puzzle. Old man activities. For the time being, as a sign of respect for her elder, Shannon bowed her head and she left the room to patrol the mansion. The bug paranoia. Yeah. And she couldn't show... Oh, because it had come fairly suddenly, the eerie sensation that she had felt a little while ago has lessened a bit, and she couldn't show this kind of face to Genji-sama or Kanan-kun. Until her heart was able to calm down, she wanted a little time to herself, and maybe going on patrol wasn't such a bad way to do that. From the dining hall, she began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family's discussion. After killing so many cockroaches, I also developed a bug paranoia. Oh no, I'm sorry, bestie. Someone was speaking at great length and was then interrupted by someone else. The second person also began to speak in a very long, drawn-out fashion until yet another person interrupted him. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if she was discovered by Kraus. Thinking that, Shannon quick-footedly left from the entrance to the dining hall. Then, inside the mansion controlled by the darkness, she began to check that the house was all closed up, following a pre-arranged route. She walked down the hall, checking that each window was closed. On Rokkenjima, there were no humans other than the family, so in actuality, closing up wasn't that terribly meaningful of a task. Until Natsuhi had scolded them that this attitude was careless, closing up had not been customary in the Shiromiya family. The metal fixtures on the completely chilled windows were freezing, and every time she went to check on them one by one, it felt like the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. Butterflies. Golden butterflies. At the time, she thought she saw something flickering across the hall. Flickering? Something like that shouldn't be visible beyond the darkness of the hall. At first, she thought she had made some mistake, but after a while, she killed her breathing. Grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed into the center of the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. it must have been her imagination after all. Maybe because she couldn't calm her heart, she saw something that didn't even exist. Shannon resumed checking the windows. However, in the back of her mind, a certain unnerving imagination was resurrected. It was that which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Oshiromiya main family, the ghost story. The mansion had different masters of the day and of the night. The master of the night, Beatrice, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. That was the story. Come to think of it, didn't Kanan-kun once said that he had seen it with his own eyes? Could it possibly, really? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. Uh-oh. And so it begins. "6 p.m. the next day. The second day, October 5th, 1986. Genji once again tightened his bow tie and looked outside through a crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night, but it didn't look like the thick rain clouds were planning to let any trace of the morning sun get by. The morning was dim and far from refreshing.
やはり今日いっぱいはやみそうにないか。
お待たせしました、源氏様。
Kanan finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. In a normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to a morning shift. There was a special system for the 2 days of the family conference. But then, as long as the typhoon didn't leave today, the relatives' stay on this island would last until tomorrow. Kanan thought that it was best to be prepared for the special schedule to be extended one more day. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain last night. Even though they had spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, it had only taken one stormy night to ruin it. Kanon's side. Hi Vixie, welcome, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. It's so nice to see you. Konniya. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist that he had probably already woken up and was probably already preparing a breakfast, both exquisite and as elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took from his pocket a bundle of several keys and used it to unlock the front door. There was nothing on Rokkenjima outside the Oshinomiya family mansion, so in the past, they hadn't been in the habit of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that the mansion would be locked up from midnight to early morning. After that, unlocking the door in the early morning had become part of the servants' morning shift. I do think locking and unlocking of the doors from midnight to morning is going to play a part in the murder mystery for sure. This task had been given to Genji and Kanon so that Goda could begin the preparations for breakfast as soon as he woke up. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was asleep.
では、朝の仕事を始めよう。
はい。
The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains remained closed, the inside of the mansion would still be dim, as if it hadn't managed to escape the previous night, and they couldn't be able to clean. Kanon, in a well-rehearsed procedure, went around the mansion opening one window after another without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, by opening the curtains, it began to feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he knew that he couldn't be able to smell it yet, his stomach started aching for some of Goda's much bragged about cooking.
おはようございます。
He tried to greet Goda, who had thought would be preparing the meal inside the kitchen, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. Did he die? Honestly, I would be happy. I hate that man. He's so suspicious. Or maybe he was the killer. As they say, the butler did it. The kitchen was darkly lit, and there was no fan for ventilation, much less curtains to be opened. Since it was still cold without a hint of fire, it was obvious that no preparations for breakfast were taking place. Even though it wouldn't be permitted, maybe Goda had overslept? Even servants are human. They can sometimes be late when they are unable to wake up. In the rare case when that happened, clamoring to hide the unsightly scene, casually smoothing it over, and making sure that the presence of such a mistake was never noticed by the master were just some of a servant's virtues. Kanon took the receiver of the phone that had been fitted to the wall and dialed the number for the extension line to the room where the servant slept. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Kanon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. Could it be that the lightning last night had done something to one of the machines and broken the extension phone? The equipment in this mansion was all worn out. Kanon fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. Kanon gave up trying to wake him with the phone and dashed over to the room where the servant slept. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, uh-oh. My danger sensors are going off. How long has she slept until? How long had it been since she had awoken and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? The vague sense of awakening was Natsuhi's usual morning experience. Her sleep was always light, and she wouldn't even have been able to sleep at all without medicine. To Natsuhi, sleeping was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought that it was still last night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. While she was inside this room, no one would torment her. Her headache wouldn't get any worse than it already was. This room was her only peaceful space. So when she left, it meant returning to the world of her husband's siblings probing each other's minds. Then wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? Natsuhi smiled bitterly at this delusion. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. That is true. Even though most of the time she would carelessly call Kinzo names for staying locked up in his own room, the truth was, she was actually along to do so herself. Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. Poor Natsuhi. When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before going to sleep the previous night. Ah, the one Jessica gave her. It was Maria's charm that Jessica had given Natsuhi. Surely Jessica had said something about it having the power to repel magic, and that she should hang it from her doorknob. Maybe it was thanks to the charm that at least this room had been protected from her husband's siblings' malice. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful.
ジェシカのおかげで少しはゆっくり眠れたということかしら。
Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right, last night I promised Jessica that I would give her a charm of my own in exchange for this one, didn't I? Natsuhi opened a drawer on her dresser, and she took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured when she was a child. Inside there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small round mirror around 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it looked much more effective when compared to the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion key holder. She had heard that this mirror was a spiritual mirror to ward off evil spirits, and she had been given it specially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. It had been believed since long ago that a strange power slept in that mirror. It was believed that, in the same way it reflected light, it also deflected misfortune and malice. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room.
はい。
おはようございます、奥様。源氏でございます。早朝から申し訳ございません。
今行きます。何事ですか？
No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, nor had they come to her directly. Maybe something bad had happened. For example, maybe some fatal oversight had been made during the preparations for breakfast, and the household had been put to shame in front of the guests or something. Natsuhi took a deep breath in anticipation for whatever trouble she was about to be told of. When she opened the door, Genji was once again said a morning greeting to her while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded.
おはようございます。何かありましたか？
申し訳ございません。昨夜の落雷で電話機器に故障が出たようです。内線電話が不通になっておりますもので、直接のお伺いになってしまったことをお許しください。
They're trying to cut them off from the outside world.
内線電話が普通？それは面倒になりましたね。修理は可能ですか？
残念ながら故障箇所が分かり、後で業者を呼んで修理させたいと思います。
ということは、この台風が過ぎるまでは修理不能ということですか？つまり、客人たちの滞在中はずっと普通ということですね。客人たちのお世話に支障は
出ないよう最善を尽くします。
結構です。粗相のないようよろしく頼みます。
Natsuhi let out a small sigh of relief. She had been prepared for the worst. But damage to the telephones wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. But then, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Natsuhi gave her head a little shake.
朝食の準備は順調ですか？
それがゴーダの姿が見えません。朝食の支度もまだ行われておらず。
なんですって？
Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phones not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuki smacked her head with her hand and nodded distractedly.
大方朝寝坊でもしているのでしょう。とにかく誰でもいいから急いで朝食の準備を。
Oh? Natsuki exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. The unpleasant thing that she saw there silenced her completely. There was a dark red liquid stuck to her fingers and some unpleasant marks around the doorknob that looked as though something had been tearing at it. It was as though someone had soaked both of their hands in blood and groped at the door and the knob. Like someone had wanted to stage something like that and left this mark as an awful prank.
これは悪趣味な。
私も今ここにお伺いして初めて気づきました。後ほど清掃いたします。
大方趣味の悪い客人の冗談でしょう。不愉快です。実に不愉快です。
Who in the world would pull such a childish and disgusting prank? Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. On the contrary, after having such a prank played on her, it would definitely be better if she didn't notice it. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned, and headed off to the parlor with a squeak of her heels. Where's the freaking body? Can I want to see it so I can end the stream.
おはよう、夏日さん。朝食も合田さんが作るっちゅう話やな。朝から胃袋が大喜びで騒ぎっぱなしなんや。
本家の楽しみは食事くらいがせいぜいですものね。
エヴァさんも朝からご機嫌がよろしいようで何よりです。
Because I keep false advertising that there's going to be murder in this game to you guys. Natsuhi returned Eva's gaze, which was fiercely competitive even though it was early in the morning, with a very expression, wary. Then Kanan jogged in. After bowing in apology to the relatives for running inside the mansion, he noticed Genji and told him something in a small voice. How dare you lie to us? To be fair, Erin's been telling you that there's going to be murder since the last stream.
Kanon.
Although, I really don't blame her, because, she played these games on her own and also with no voice acting. And, we are reading and voicing and, discussing. So, obviously, it takes more time to get through it than you would if you were just playing it alone.
ゴーダはまだ見つからないのですか？
申し訳ございません、奥様。お屋敷内もゲストハウスも回ったのですが、まだ。
一体どこへ行ったというのです。とりあえず今はゴーダより朝食の準備が先決です。至急対応しなさい。
はい。
Kanon glanced at Genji. It looked like he had something else to report, but that was asking Genji whether he should say it himself. Genji nodded, and he decided to give the report himself.
奥様、ゴーダだけではありません。
Oh? Oh, is someone else missing?
旦那様の姿もあります。
Wah. Kraus too. Rare.
主人が？
はい。
Oh shit.
奥様より先に旦那様に朝食の準備がないことをご報告しようと思い、寝室をお伺いしたのですが、お姿がありませんでした。
My current theory is Kraus killed Goda because Kraus was the one to switch Goda's night shift. And man, I don't know. Something like that.
それから旦那様だけではありません。
Oh, there's more?
ルドルフ様ご夫妻とローザ様のお姿もありません。
Oh no! Rodolphe and Kiria and also Rosa?
ゲストハウスにも屋敷にも
That
で
is
す
a
か？
lot of people missing at
はい
once.
ゲストハウスの部屋にもおられません。
When she had heard that Goda alone was missing, she had thought that he must have slept in or was loafing around somewhere. But once she heard that several of the relatives were also missing, her optimistic way of thinking began to change. Could last night's family conference have continued all night and still be going on? It was also imaginable that they had wanted to cool off their hats after being in that stuffy room, and had all gone off on their own walks throughout the rain. The part about cooling off their hats really sounded like something Kraus would like to say. Probably Goda had been calling to go with them to aid them with something. Goda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to have understood that if he did not return, the preparations for breakfast would be hindered. Even so, there had been that inescapable atmosphere, so maybe that conference had continued to this very moment. I see, thought Natsuhi. To her, this was an extremely persuasive theory. Natsuhi remembered the illusion that she had felt that morning of being sucked into a continuation of the previous night. When she learned that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again took a deep, wary breath. Because the banquet of filthy vultures circling around Kinza's property was still continuing.
大方、庭園のどこか、あるいは海岸の方で相も変わらず遺産の話を繰り返しているのでしょう。とにかく、ゴーダを呼び戻さなくては、いつまでも朝食の準備が整いません。
ってことはなんや、兄さんたちの話し合いはまだ続いとるんか。
She had planned to say it in a small voice, but Hideyoshi overheard Natsuhi and managed to grasp the situation.
兄さんもルドルフもタフね。ローザの場合は若さかしら。私たち夕べの24時過ぎにはもう眠くてベッドに戻らせてもらったんだけど、確かにあの時点でもまだ兄さんたちは熱論を交わしてたわ。男って熱くなると嫌ね。
Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank.
カノン、表を探してらっしゃい。ゴーダを見つけたらすぐに戻って朝食の準備をするよう伝えなさい。
かしこまりました。
夏日姉さん、表とは限らないわよ。お父様の書斎ってことはないかしら。
なるほど、考えられん話やないで。どういう話の流れかはわからんが、お父さんの書斎に場所を移してお父さんにも混じってもらって議論を続けてるっちゅう可能性は十分あるやろ。
That sure would be a crazy conversation to witness.
そのような汚らわしい話題を好んでお父様が書斎へ招き入れることなど考えられません。
あらそう。じゃあ仕方ないわね。源氏さんとカノン君は申し訳ないけど、確かに兄さんなら頭を冷やすために外を散歩した。たとえこんな天気でもね。私はお父様の書斎に行ってくるわ。ひょっとするとそこにいるかもしれないしね。
客人であるエヴァさんにそこまでのご足労はおかけできません。私が行ってきます。朝のご挨拶も兼ねて。
あら、じゃあお願いするわね。でも朝の挨拶を交わしてくれるかは疑わしいわね。夏日姉さんってお父様とは仲よろしかったかしら。
仲が良いかは分かりかねますが、後宮家の跡継ぎの妻を許されるだけの信頼を得ていると
ならきっと返事くらいはしてくれるわね。
God, Eva is so nasty.
お父様とは朝食くらいご一緒したいの。ぜひ降りてきてくださるよう説得してくれないかしら。私たちはすっ かり嫌われちゃってるみたいだけど、そこまで短歌を切ってお父様を説得できず、信頼を得ているなんて二度と言えないかもね。自信はありませんが、努力はします。
Natsuki responded, discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Eva herself was making light of the fact that this couldn't be done. Even so, Natsuki would lose face if she gave up, saying it was impossible, and let Eva go instead. Eva's mean-spirited and unreasonable demand made Natsuki clench her fists slightly. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over her shoulder.
奥様、よろしければこれをお持ちください。
それは
Genji handed Natsuki a sparkling gold key of ornate design. It's the key to the Kinzo study. Yeah. The study would always lock itself and couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that door.
でもこの鍵を使ったら、あなたも咎めを受けるのではありませんか？
Genji!
親方様は深くお休みになられている時、それに親方様にお部屋を
I
出
bet
ていただく
something
よう
crazy is
説
in
得
that
する。
room.
Genji.
Until now, Natsuki had thought of Genji as a cold servant who, since he worked directly under Kinzo, would not do anything for her. That's really not the vibe I've been getting. He seems like really caring of the servants at least. And now Natsuki as well. But it looked like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her feelings of things, but by then, Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Kanon. The words that reached Natsuki from behind her as she watched them go were sneering.
じゃあお父様を必ず連れてきてね。息子のかわいい嫁の言うことですもの。きっと聞いてくれるわよ。
Shut up, Eva.
私たちは客人だから、ここでのんびりくつろがせてもらうわ。
予算かエバ、口が過ぎるで。すまんが夏日姉さん、お父さんのことよろしく頼むわ。
What? What? Oh. I don't think Charlie's talking to me. Natsuki, without answering, forcefully spun around on her heels and quickly left that place. After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up soon. George, Aniki, Jessica, and I were snoring loudly on the bed. God, they're like really showing me the servant, they're showing me Natsuki, showing me Eva and her husband. Now they're showing me the cousins. Can I see the freaking body already? I don't need to see POV of everyone in the mansion. But Maria, who didn't join in and who had gone straight to bed the previous night, suddenly and completely opened her eyes. As she rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked around, the loud snoring coming from the three cousins continued. For a while, Maria had to think about what had happened. After that, she realized that her mother was not with her and quickly got lonely. Maria left the cousins' room, trying to head to the room that had been arranged for her and her mother. Paying no heed to the three who were sleeping soundly, she made a loud banging noise. In response, Battler mumbled and rolled over in his sleep, but it wasn't enough to wake him up. After a while, Maria returned, once again opening the door with a lively bang. When she had left the room, her face had been sleepy, but after returning, she now looked discontent. After that, she climbed up on Battler's bed, which happened to be the closest, and started yelling and jumping on it like it was a trampoline. Maria! deserved it. I think he deserves to be trampled by Maria.
うわなんだなんだ敵襲かなぜ
After making sure that I was awake, Maria moved over to George Aniki's bed and started jumping on that too. In that manner, the three of us were all greeted with an extremely pleasant awakening.
ありがとうマリアちゃん。起こしてくれたんだね。僕たちは夕べが遅かったから寝坊しちゃったのを起こしてくれたんだね。でももう少しだけ起こし方を優しくしてくれると完璧だったかな。
No.
ジョージ兄さんは本当に大人だよ。尊敬するぜ。
もうすぐ7時なんだな。ま、確かにもう起きてもいい頃だぜ。
She wants mommy. But Rosa is one of the people that is missing. Oh, poor Maria. Why did they drag this little kid into all this?
ローザおばさんが
Mama!
部屋にいなかったの？もう起きてお屋敷の方に行っちゃったのかな。
Mama! She baby. Maria kept groaning, ooh, and looked unhappy. It seemed like she wasn't simply lonely because she couldn't find her mother, but actually unhappy because her mother wasn't in the place Maria thought she was. And this made her feel like she'd been tricked. Yeah, this is like the Rose all over again. She might have been satisfied just to hear where her mother was. But unfortunately, as long as Rosa-oba-san wasn't here, we had no way of knowing where she was.
どうせ朝食に行くことになるんだし、屋敷の方に行こうぜ。
そうだな。マリア、一緒に屋敷へ行こうぜ。きっとローザおばさんもそこさ。
おお、ママはお屋敷なら行く。おお。
そうだね。お屋敷に行こうか。
Baby that goes, ooh.
多分親たちはもう向こうに行ってるんだよ。
Maria, as though her earlier temper had been a lie, regained her usual composure. We got dressed, left the room, and headed for the mansion. It's already 11 p.m. I don't want to spend New Year's waiting until the murder happens. Can it happen already? The door to the study was once again knocked upon, but there was no answer. He was still sleeping, and she couldn't wake him. If she said something like that and returned downstairs, Eva would be very amused and triumphant. I think 15 more minutes. I think 15 more minutes, and that's it. I want to spend at least like half an hour before the New Year's with Charlie. And even if she didn't tell Eva, there was the problem that during this once-a-year family conference, he had stayed locked up all day yesterday and had still not come out to greet the guests. Even though he was the head, no, especially because he was the head, he couldn't fail to make an appearance. I wonder if I can convince him myself. Natsuki readied herself and using the key that she had borrowed from Genji, opened the door. If there's nothing in that room, I'm gonna be so disappointed. There's gotta be the body in there. Please. Even though she was prepared for the sweet stench that seemed to eat into her brain after pouring out through the small crack in the door, she couldn't help but grimace. Thinking that he might still be sleeping, Natsuki entered the room quietly. He's awake. When she did, Kinzo, already awake, was looking down out of the window.
お目覚めでしたか。おはようございます。
どうやって入ったのか。
Kinzo spoke with his back still facing her. His voice was not harsh but calm, and Natsuki was slightly reassured. However, even though he had been awake, he was at least in a bad enough mood that he had ignored the sound of all of that knocking. Natsuki wasn't able to break the tension.
申し訳ございませんでした。源氏さんにお願いして書斎の鍵をお借りさせていただきました。
ほう、元気がか。我が友がそれに足ると思ったならば話を聞かぬわけにもいくまい。して私に何言おうか。
はい、もうじき朝食の準備が整いますが。
朝食はここでとる。いつものように運ばせるがいい。
しかしお父様、年に一度の親族会議です。せめてお顔をお見せになってください。
下に降りて私の死後遺産をどのように食いちぎるのかを決める議論に加われというのか。バカらしい。
He has a point.
そのような話は私を抜きで好きに進めるがいい。そしてそれが親族会議だというなら私がこの部屋を出るほどの価値はない。私は忙しいのだ。構うでない。
With his last words came the threat that the further questions would be useless. Natsuki realized that adding any further pleas would finally be bringing his wrath down upon her. It would be annoying to hear Eva sarcastically say that she hadn't been able to convince him after all, but there was nothing more Natsuki could do.
そうですか。わかりました。みんな残念がるでしょうが、そう伝えます。
Natsuki decided to give up. Bowing silently, she tried to leave the room before Kinzo's spasmodic temper could fire up. As she did, Kinzo spoke to Natsuki. Compared to the usual Kinzo, this voice was calm and gentle, like it came from another person.
夏日、後ろ宮の家に嫁ぎ、もう随分になるな。
Oh?
はい。
That sure is unexpected.
後ろ宮を名乗ることを許されてからもう随分になります。
前の家が恋しくなることもあるか。
いいえ、嫁ぐとは成果を捨てることです。
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works, but this is Ushiromiya family we're talking about.
私は後ろ宮夏日、帰る家も懐かしむ家もすべてはこの後ろ宮の家のみです。
It was definitely not an exaggeration. Natsuki had been that determined when she had taken the name Ushiromiya. That was why she was so sorrowful that despite all of her fruitless efforts, she was not even accepted by her husband.
クラウスが女で、お前がその夫であったなら、いや、それは言うまい。
Is he implying that he would make Natsuki the head of the family? Whoa. That's pretty huge.
どういう意味ですか、お父様。
Natsuki was shocked. If Kinzo's words just now had been meant literally, they would have been more than enough to make up for all she had suffered up to that point.
忘れよ。年寄りのざれ言だ。
Feminist Kinzo? Bro, just respect women and do it anyway. Skill issue. Real. Kinzo once again faced away from her. He had told her to forget it, but Natsuki couldn't help feeling a warmth in her heart.
お父様。
Broken ass family.
この夏日は血はつながらずともお父様の娘です。後宮家の名誉も栄光も、そしてお父様が残されたものもすべてこの夏日が必ずや守ってみせますから。
お前に片翼のわしをまとう資格はない。しかしお前の心には確かに片翼のわしが刻まれている。ならばお前は間違いなく我が血族で後宮家の栄光を引き継ぐ。
わ
お前の衣服にわしがないことを嘲笑う者もいよう。
Hi, Naziro. welcome to the stream. Yeah, one-winged eagle is the crest of this family.
しかし、それに耳を貸すことはない。心にわしを持つ者だけが真の私の血族なのだ。お前を後ろ宮家に迎えられたことを今は光栄に思っている。
This is some really interesting moments of Kenzo. At least someone appreciates Natsuhi. Without saying anything more, Kenzo remained with his back to Natsuhi. However, Natsuhi couldn't help but feel something warm well up inside her that she hadn't felt since long ago, when she had been just a child. Natsuhi bowed silently to his back and left the room.
あら、ちょうどいいタイミングだったわね。お父様の様子はどう？あんまり遅いから様子を見に来ちゃったのよ。
When Natsuhi left the study, she saw Eva climbing the stairs and their eyes met. Eva, thinking that Natsuhi would leave grudgingly after failing to convince Kenzo, was smirking unpleasantly. However, the way Natsuhi was now, such a frivolous laugh would not disturb her. She was not permitted to wear the family crest on her clothing, but she was permitted to wear it in her heart. So she spoke calmly, clearly, and confidently with the dignity of the one who would protect the glory of the Ushiromiya family.
お父様は親族会議にはおいでにならないそうです。汚らわしい議題に関心はないと仰せです。とかなんとか言っちゃって。お父様を説得できなかったんなら素直にそう言えばいいじゃない。
I think the translation might be slightly off here. The first sentence that Ava said, I'm sure he said something like that. I'm like 90% sure she's instead meaning that Natsuhi came up with this quote by Kenzo, and not that she actually heard it. Like, Eva is implying that she wasn't even able to talk to Kenzo, let alone persuade him.
哀れです。お父様が嘆かれるお気持ちも分かろうというものです。それはどういう意味よ。
Get owned, Eva. Natsuhi did not answer. Just as Kenzo had done earlier, she showed Eva her back as she headed down the stairs. Eva finally realized that she was being made fun of, and that something had happened to quickly bolster Natsuhi's confidence. Get her ass! Even so, she didn't have the courage to risk Kenzo's wrath. Unable to even knock on the door, she could only scratch at the air in front of it, cluck her tongue, and follow after Natsuhi.
それで兄さんたちはいたの？お父様に聞いたの？聞きそびれましたが、書斎の中にはいませんでした。お父様が夫たちの下船な話のために入室を許すこともありえませんから、下に降りて使用人たちが探してくれるのを待ちましょう。朝食は遅れますが、お茶でもいかがです、エヴァさん。別に結構よ。
It's nice to see Natsuhi at least a little bit more in her element. It was really hard to watch Eva bully her to hell and back without being able to say anything back. Eva couldn't hide her confusion over the complete difference in Natsuhi's appearance. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she even had the sense of dignity about her. Unable to find fault with anything, she could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. When the two of them returned to the parlor, not only Hideyoshi but the 4 children and Nanjo as well had gathered there. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned.
主人たちはまだ見つからないのですか？
はい。あと熊沢が朝食の準備に入りました。もう少し時間をいただきたいとのことです。
The clock read a little past 8 a.m. 8 should have been the time to start breakfast. Normally, going over that time limit was a disgrace to the host.
今カノンが表を探しています。それからシャノンの姿も見えません。
シャノンまで。まったく。主人は何を従えて散歩に出かけたのですか。
How many people couldn't be found? After the number of people had grown so large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though they were the only ones being left out on something interesting. At the very least, it looked like the children, no, Maria especially felt the same way. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling, almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. Aw, baby. Trying to fix her bad mood, the other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria. Should put on The Muppet Show. She would love it. Nanja was sitting in the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. It must have been a book about chess. The sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. There was only one said, so they realized before they saw the source that it was not Kraus and the rest, but probably Kanon.
奥様、失礼します。
その様子では見つけられなかったようですね。
申し訳ございません。まだ。
もう十分です。ご苦労をかけました。
She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't put anything in their mouths since last night, so their stomachs must be growling about now. They would surely saunter in any time now. Natsuhi was already dumbfounded, and she had begun to think that there was no urgent need to find them right now.
私はお客様方にお茶のご用意をしに厨房へ行きます。二人とも早朝からご苦労様でした。
Natsuhi, acting as though the release in the tension had caused a new surge in her headache, left the parlor. Kanan tried to call to her back, but Natsuhi left swiftly.
どうした？まだ何かあるのか？
はい。旦那様方のお姿を見つけることはできませんでしたが。
Kanon sounded evasive. He still didn't know where they were, but maybe he had found something with some relation to that? When Eva and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words, they came over. Maybe Kanon had noticed something that looked strange.
どうしたんや、カノン君。クラウス兄さんたちは見つかったんか？
実はバラ庭園の倉庫の様子がおかしいのです。
様子がおかしいというのはどういう意味だ？
それが何と説明すればいいのか。
Kanon once again hesitated. He wasn't speaking anything like you'd expect from the usually fearless Kanon. Eva and Hideyoshi looked slightly doubtful at his appearance.
どういうこと？倉庫の中に兄さんたちがいたんじゃないの？
いえ、中はこれから調べます。その鍵を取りに戻ったところなので、
ようわからんが、とにかく中を調べればいいだけの話じゃないか。その倉庫の鍵はどこにあるんや？
使用人室にあります。すぐに中を確かめましょう。
Kanon dashed off to the servant room and returned with the key. Genjo left the parlor, saying that he would go check, but Eva and Hideyoshi also followed. What was this something odd about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Kanon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but their curiosity over the something that Kanon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Kanon and the rest dashed over to the entrance. The Rose Garden storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built hidden in a corner of the Rose Garden. Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi came cutting across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the Rose Garden, which was normally off limits for those appreciating the garden and only used by those maintaining the garden. As they dashed along that as well, the front of the storehouse came into view. That looks like a garage. It was a very old shed of a storehouse, and compared to the flawlessly perfect beauty of the rose garden, it was pretty seedy looking. It was easy to understand why it had been built in a hard-to-see place. Eva and Hideyoshi arrived at the storehouse long after Kanon and Genji.
カノン君たちは早いな。わしは心臓が爆発しそうや。
こんなところに倉庫なんか建ててたのね。何よそれ。
Oh? When Eva looked at where Kanon was pointing, she was at a loss for words. Noticing this, Hideyoshi also followed Kanon's finger and was likewise too shocked to speak. The entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shutter. And there, everyone there suddenly realized why Kanon had been unable to find words that would describe what they now saw. On the shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to wind and rain for so long, stuck right on, there was something that looked like a strange dark red liquid? Mucus? Or maybe it was some sticky paint? An indescribably eerie shape was drawn on the shutter with some kind of ghastly substance. The rain had caused it to drip down like fresh blood leaking from an open wound. There were no words that could describe it. Some kind of mark was drawn, with a ghastly substance meant to look like blood, and a shape meant to suggest something ominous. 2 circles were drawn there, and inside them was a design that looked like a cross. The 4 ends of the cross were widely exaggerated, and it looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe. And in the cracks between these shapes, written closely packed together, were some unfamiliar characters, or possibly symbols.
なんちゅう悪趣味な落書きや。これ、あれか？悪魔の儀式とかの魔法陣いうやつとちゃうか？
It was only natural that Hideyoshi would say that about the ghastly shape, drawn with a deep red dripping substance.
これ、いつ書かれたの？昨日、雨が降り出す前にここに来ましたが。
他の方々の目に触れる前にご覧になられたらお不快にな。
そうね、ただの倉庫小屋とはいえ、こんな気持ち悪い落書きを1秒たりとも放置したくないわ。
倉庫の中に塗料もあります。応急処置でとりあえず塗り消して、後日天気のいい日に洗って。
Genji remembered that he had just recently seen another scribble, and that it too had been made with a strange dark red substance of the same color as this. That must have been... That's right, he had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room.
カノン君、さっさとこの落書きを消して戻りましょう。たとえ倉庫とはいえ、実家の落書きは本当に腹立たしいわ。
Are they gonna open it, or...? He did grab the key.
すぐに済ませますので。
There's totally something inside. Kanon squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it. His son lifted it up with all of his strength. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes! A boisterous noise resounded, and the eerie shape drawn on the shutter began to get sucked in through the top as the shutter was raised. At least for the time being, that sign of misfortune disappeared from their direct gaze, and they were all breathed a sign of relief. Oh, why is this taking forever? I can't do this anymore, guys. It's half an hour until New Year. I'm gonna peace out. Thank you for coming. I love this game, but also God is it wordy. I totally understand why people make fun of other Umineko fans trying to get others to play it, because like this is like insane. Yeah, let's raid someone. I'm sure people are doing those like end of the year recaps of their channels and whatnot, so let's raid someone. I'm sure someone's streaming. But yeah. Happy New Year, happy New Year's Eve. I wish you all the best. I wish you for all the health and the energy to do exactly what you set out for yourself to do, for your loved ones and your friends to always be there with you, for the food to be yummy, and for the bed to be cozy, and for your pets to behave, and only to have good vibes in the new year. Yes. Okay. Let's see who's streaming. Oh! I see only one person is streaming, but that's okay.
I am thorough.
That is totally okay. Alright, get ready to raid! And I'm going on the ending screen. Almost forgot. Dasvidaniya!